Hi everyone, let me know in the comment section if I'm audible and visible properly. So just drop it down in the chat section if I'm audible and visible. Hi, good evening Beena, good evening Janet, Astrojit, Priya, welcome back. Hi, good evening Beena, good evening Janet. Anirudh, welcome back. Pallavi, hi. I am audible and visible. So, today we are going to cover some common mistakes that we ought to make in English. Very important topic and one of my favorites. So, I think it's high time we should start the session. It's already 9:07, so we're gonna have a session of 1 hour. But before that, please tell me, did you all give the test? Did you all take the test? Sorry. So, yes, one thing that I would want to tell you here is what is the difference between giving a test and taking a test? So, yesterday there was some assignment that I wanted you all to complete. So, actually, there I gave you a test, but you are taking the test because you will be appearing for it. So you will take the test, and I am the one as a teacher who's giving you the test. So there's always this misconception that people always say that I'm giving the test, but that is wrong. If you're appearing for it, that means you're taking a test. And if your teacher is giving you some sort of assignment or a test, then she's giving you and you are taking it. So that's how you say it. If you're saying that I'm giving a test, that is wrong. If you're appearing for it, then you're taking the test. I hope this is clear. So this is just a small thing that we tend to make or we tend to go wrong with. So if possible, just jot it down somewhere. Now when I'm saying jot it down, that means I'm asking you all to write it down somewhere. Alright? Okay. So now today's topic, very interesting topic. Some common mistakes that we ought to make in English. That is what we will be covering in today's session. Okay. Now let me know if the screen is visible to you all. Is it visible? Yeah. Is it visible now? I am assuming it is not for some reason. Oh, it's not right. Just give me a moment. So now I'm assuming that it is visible now. Just let me know in the chat section if it is visible. In the chat section if it is visible, so that we can start with the session. It is visible. Okay. So these are some common mistakes that we ought to make in English. And number one is in the end versus at the end. Now, if at all you have any idea about the difference between these two phrases, then let me know in the chat section. What is the meaning of in the end and what is the meaning of at the end? In the end versus at the end. What do you think is the difference? Just drop it down in the chat section if at all you have slight idea. What is the difference between in the end and at the end? In the end and at the end. Still, I haven't received any answer, so just drop it down. Please start dropping it down. What do you understand by it? Alright, let's check it first. So, in the end is synonymous to finally, ultimately, or at last. But at the end talks about the physical location or the farthest point or part. Right? So, just remember that in the end means you're talking about something which is at its last stage. And at the end specifically targets on physical location or the farthest point of something. Okay, so if I'm saying that in the end we decided to cancel the trip due to bad weather, that means in the end, finally we decided to cancel the trip. But at the same time, if I'm saying that at the end of the movie, the credits rolled, that means at the end, that means the farthest point or the last part, at that particular point, credits came up. So you're talking about its physical location. You're precisely focusing on its physical location. But in the end here means finally. Let's take one more example. For in the end. So she worked hard, but in the end she didn't get the promotion. That means eventually, ultimately, finally, at last, she did not get the promotion. But if you are saying that the hotel room was located at the end of the hall, that means the hotel was precisely located at the end of the hallway or whatever it is, the corridor, the lobby. So whenever you're talking about the physical location or the farthest point, you use at the end, and in the end simply means finally, ultimately, or last. Right? So in the end they reached the city. That means finally, after a long journey, they reached the city. But when you're saying at the end of the road you'll find the hotel. That means you're talking about the physical location, the farthest point at the end. Right? So if you're jotting it down somewhere, please jot it down properly. In the end is synonymous to ultimately, at last, and at the end is synonymous to the physical location of farthest point. Right? This is how you need to write it. And if at all you want to write the examples, feel free to write it, because I think examples are the best way to learn anything, be it a new word or a new rule. So write it down, pen it down before we move ahead. Now, this is something that I would want you all to read first, and then we will go on the explanation part. So just read it by yourself. In the end, we succeeded. That means finally we succeeded. At the end of the book, there's a glossary. That means we're talking about the last part of the book. In the end, it was a great experience. That means finally, overall, you're talking about the conclusion specifically. There's a party at the end of the semester. That means you're talking about the physical location. So remember, in the end means finally, and at the end means last part or physical location of something. I hope this is clear. Please drop yes if it is clear so that we can move ahead. Please drop Y or yes so that we can move ahead. Is it clear? So I want Y's in the chat section. Okay, someone says no. Pratap Sen, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but let me know your doubt, please, in the chat section itself. Alright, moving ahead. So this is how you can remember it. In the end emphasizes the final outcome or conclusion. At the end emphasizes the physical location or last part of something. Rule number 2. Stop using myself. So I've seen a lot of people introducing themselves using this word myself. Myself Yashee or myself Bina. Now, using myself is absolutely wrong. Why? Because it is a pronoun which must not be used in introduction. This is what the rule says. Now, let's see what the rule is. So, when introducing yourself, it is essential to use the correct form to make a good impression. And incorrect form is myself so and so. So, whatsoever is your name. Saying that is incorrect. Instead, you can say that I am Yashee, I am Bina, I am Prathamesh, I am Neelam. Right? So, using myself is a big no-no and you should avoid using it. Now, why myself is incorrect? So, there's a rule of pronoun which says that myself is a reflexive pronoun. And when the subject and the object are same, you use it then. But using myself to introduce yourself is incorrect and also sounds awkward. So it's not grammatically correct, hence it must be avoided. Now what to use? So instead of saying myself Yashee, myself Bina, myself Prathamesh, myself Riya, you will be using I am or I'm. So what is I'm? The contraction of I am is I'm Yashee, I'm Bina, I'm Radha, I'm Riya, I'm Prathamesh. So that's how you use it. So it's concise also, clear also, and also accepted, grammatically correct. So instead of using myself and your name, you must use I'm, or you can go for my name is, which is quite formal. So if you want to keep it casual and informal, you can use I, contraction of I am, which is am. I'm Yashee, I'm Bina. Alright, so I'm John Smith, nice to meet you. This is how you can introduce yourself. Or I'm Emily Chen, a marketing professional. This is how you introduce yourself. Right? Stop using myself if you have been using it. Now, common mistakes to avoid. So, instead of myself, you're supposed to use I'm. Me instead of I am or I'm. So, me John is also incorrect. Me Yashee is incorrect. Myself Yashee is incorrect. But you're supposed to use what exactly here? I am or I'm or my name is. Alright? This is how you must introduce yourself. If you're at all you're using myself, then stop using it. Now, this is something for practice. Just go through it once before we move ahead. This is what we have done until now. So, rule number 1 was difference between in the end and at the end. So in the end means finally, ultimately, or at last. And then we had at the end, which meant physical location or the farthest point or part. And rule number 2 said that you're not supposed to use myself while introducing yourself. Instead, you will use I am, its contraction I am, and otherwise you can go for formal structuring, that is my name is. I hope this is clear. Just drop Y's in the chat section. So, have you been using myself until now? If at all yes, then stop using it. Alright, next exam. This is what we have been discussing in the beginning. Take an exam or give an exam. Right? So, I asked you to do one assignment before you were joining the session. Right? Before, I think around 8, I dropped one message of taking an exam. I gave you an exam and I wanted you to take that exam. Right? The link is still in the group, in the community, in the broadcast channel. So you have to take an exam. I've given you an exam and you have to take that exam. So this is what we are discussing now. So taking an exam is not giving an exam. If at all you are attempting any exam or you're sitting for an examination, then you're supposed to use I am taking an exam. I'm not giving a paper. I'm not giving a test. I'm not giving an exam. But I'm taking an exam. If you are appearing for it, if you are attempting it, if you're sitting for an examination. But if your teacher is giving you an assignment or let's say test, then she's actually giving you an exam and you are taking it. So that's the difference. I think people get confused here. But you as a student, as a learner, take a test, and I as a teacher will give you a test. So take implies undergoing or participating in an examination. You are attempting for it. You are sitting for that examination. And as a student, you are supposed to use take. And as a teacher, as an administrator, I will be giving you the test or giving you the examination. Why am I repeating it a lot? Because I wanted you to remember it. A lot of you make mistake while using this phrase. So make sure that you remember this fact, this rule. You sit for an exam, you appear for an exam, you attempt an exam. As a student, as a learner. So students take examination and teachers or administrators give or administer exams. Right? So I hope this is clear. Please start dropping Y's in the chat section if it is clear. And keep jotting it down so that you can revisit and revise whenever required and remember it for eternity. Jot it down. What is the meaning of jotting down? What do you understand by the phrase jot down? When I'm saying that please jot down, what do I mean by that? What is the meaning of jotting down? Tell me in the chat section. Beena, very good. It means write it down. Pen it down somewhere. Note down. Exactly, Priya. Good. So I hope the concept is clear. As a student, tell me now. This is a question for you. As a student, will you take a test or give a test? As a student, will you take a test or give a test? Drop it down in the chat section, please. As a student or as a learner, will you be taking a test or giving a test? Take a test. Very good. Good. Rule number 4, either, either, or any. What is the difference between the two? Where do we use either and where do we use any? Any idea? Where do we use either or either? So both pronunciations are acceptable. One is American and one is British. So both are acceptable. There's no right or wrong. If I'm saying either, then also it is correct. And if I'm saying either, even then it is correct. So either or any. What is the difference? Drop it down in the chat section, please. Very good, Dinesh. You're quite close. Right. So this is the main difference. When you are using either, you have two options and you have to pick one out of the two. But when you're using any, you're talking about three or more options. So any is used for three or more options, but either specifically for two options. For instance, either of these books is good. That means one or the other one. You have two options and you're saying that one or the other is good. But when you're saying any of these 5 books will do, that means you're talking about one of 3 or more. That means one of the 5 book or one out of all the book is good. This is what you're trying to say. So remember the basic difference between either and any is either is used for 2 options and any is used for more than 2. That means 3 or more. So it simply implies choice between 2. You're talking about exclusivity. That means one or the other. This one or that one. But when you're using any, you're talking about choice from multiple. That means 3 or more. So you're talking about indifference. One is as good as another. So the second difference is that either talks about exclusivity. Sorry, my bad. Either talks about exclusivity and any talks about indifference. Extremely sorry for the inconvenience. Yeah. So, exclusivity, either, indifference, any. So, for 2 options, we use either. For 3 or more options, we use any. Now, either coffee or tea is fine. Any of these solution works. So remember, either highlights your binary choice and any suggests broader selection, right? Any of these solutions will work. That means any out of whatever options you have will work. But when you're talking about or when you're using either, it is talking about choosing, choice or options. That means either this or that is fine. Either coffee or tea is fine. So whatever you have, just bring it up. Now, this is something that I've actually talked about a lot. I've been saying or I've been correcting a lot of people on the same. I've seen people using today morning, which is incorrect. And the correct usage of this phrase is this morning and not today morning. Let's see how. So, this morning, this afternoon or this evening is what you're supposed to use. Now, today morning, today afternoon and today evening is incorrect. Why? Because the day isn't finished yet. You're talking about a morning which is of the present day. Therefore, you will use this or that. Not that, but specifically this for today's morning. So instead of saying today morning, you will say this morning because the day isn't finished yet. You're talking about the present day. Similarly, last night for yesterday night. And for today's night, of course, you're supposed to use today night, tonight. So it is pronounced as tonight. It is not tonight, but it is tonight, last night, this morning, this afternoon, this evening. This is how you're supposed to say it. Just drop Y if you are understanding what I'm trying to convey. I hope you are able to comprehend what we are discussing. Right? So this morning, for the morning of the present day, if it at all afternoon has passed and you want to talk about afternoon, then you will say this afternoon. If you want to talk about evening and you are probably talking about it at night and you want to talk about the present day's evening, then you will use this along with it. Not today evening I went to the park, but this evening I went to the park. Right? Similarly, for last night, the night that just passed, you'll use the phrase, not phrase, but actually the word last. And for present night, you will be using tonight. I welcome you all tonight for the dinner. Right? So I haven't seen him this morning is correct. I'll meet you this afternoon, that means present day's afternoon. Let's watch a movie tonight. I slept well last night. Now again, remember you're supposed to use this morning, this afternoon, tonight and last night. Don't use today morning, today evening, yesterday night. Yesterday evening is correct, but for the night that has passed, you'll use last night. Now, avoid using today morning, today afternoon, today evening, yesterday night. For yesterday night, you're supposed to use last night. And for today night, you're supposed to use tonight. So I hope this is clear. Just drop Y's in the chat section if this is clear. This morning I met him, absolutely correct. Drop Y's in the chat section if it is clear. This is what you're supposed to use. Now, rule number 6, very important, which says wrong repetition of subject. Now, what is it? My little brother is at school. My little brother, comma, he is at school. Now, when you have already used subject, please attach predicate along with it. Do not introduce pronoun and repeat your subject. Here we have two subjects. One is my little brother and the second one is he. Two subjects are not required. When you're talking about a person, you've already mentioned it as a noun. No need to place it as pronoun. So simply say that my little brother is at school. Instead of saying my little brother, pause, he is at school, which is incorrect. You do not require two subjects. Do not repeat your subject. It is redundant. Now, what is the meaning of redundant? What is the meaning of this word redundant? In one word, if you want to describe this word redundant, how will you do it? Redundant. Unnecessary. Unnecessary, something which is not required. If let's say I got two copies of the script that I wanted to read. So of course one is redundant, one is unnecessary. The second one, is redundant. Second one is unnecessary. I can read the first one and do my job. Why do I require the second one? So of course it becomes unnecessary, it becomes redundant. It is something which is not required. Now, I don't know how many of you were present in the last session that we had yesterday, but there I discussed the word garrulous. What is the meaning of garrulous? Do you remember the meaning of the word garrulous? If at all, I think some of you were there in the class. Okay, is it not? Just let me... Okay, since it wasn't visible, so I had to crop myself. I had to remove myself. I hope it is clear now. Yes, so garrulous actually means someone who is talkative. Talkative when? Excessively talkative, especially on trivial matters. This was the definition of the word garrulous. Excessively talking on trivial matters. Now there was this word trivial. What is the meaning of this word trivial? The meaning of the word trivial. The meaning of the word trivial. What is the meaning of the word trivial? Garrulous, of course, means talkative, someone who talks excessively and especially on trivial matters. What is the meaning of the word trivial? This was the word in yesterday's slide. Trivial. What is the meaning of it? Trivial, Trivial. 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 Trivial means unimportant matters. Remember, these words are beautiful. Please keep jotting them down. If you're discussing the class, please write it down somewhere. Trivial means something which is unimportant. Redundant means something which is unnecessary. Exactly. Something which is less important. Radhesh, very good. So please keep jotting these words somewhere. Now, my little brother is a subject and you do not use another subject, another pronoun to talk about the same subject. Hence, it becomes redundant. So, avoid using it. So, my friend, she is a doctor is incorrect. If you have already used my friend, then she is not required. So, my friend is a doctor is absolutely correct. It has a subject and a predicate. My friend is your subject about which you're talking in a sentence, and is a doctor is the predicate, the telling part of the sentence. The teacher, he gave us homework, incorrect, not required. You're not supposed to bring two subjects here, but you can simply say that my teacher gave me or gave us a homework. Now, next one, return and or return back. Which one is correct? Return or return back? Which one is correct? Which one do you think is correct? Return or return back? Trivial, Priya, correct the spelling. It's Trivial. Trivial. Trivial matters. I don't fight on trivial matters. Something which is of little value, no importance. Trivial. Trivial. That's the correct spelling. Correct the spelling, please. Alright. What is correct? Return or return back? Return. Okay, Priya says return back. Dinesh says return back. Alright. So, return itself means coming back from some place. So, return back is absolutely wrong, incorrect. Again, back here is redundant. What is the meaning of redundant? We just discussed. What is the meaning of redundant? Redundant means something which is unnecessary, something which is not required. Right? So, here back is redundant. Why? Because return itself means coming back from someplace. So you don't have to add back when using return. Return already implies coming back or going back. So there is no point of writing back again, which makes back redundant or unnecessary. So remember, never use return along with back. Grammatically it is incorrect because back is redundant. What is the meaning of redundant? Something which is not required, something which is extra, something which is unnecessary. Alright, so how do you write a sentence? She has returned to school. He will return home tomorrow. The book will return to the library. Don't say she has returned back to school. Wrong. He will return back home tomorrow. Big no no. The book will return back to the library. Again, it is incorrect. With return, you don't use back. Incorrect sentence, she has returned back to the school. He will return back home tomorrow. These are incorrect sentences. Read the heading, read the headline. It says incorrect sentences. So don't use back here. It is incorrect. Don't use back with return. Now, similarly, we have go, come, and arrive. Right? So remember, return inherently means coming back. So no need to add back with it. Next, for and since. Very, very, very important. Where do you use for and where do you use since? Now I'm going to give you two sentences and you have to tell me which one is correct. So I've known him for 5 years, or I've known him since 5 years. I've known him for 5 years, or I've known him since 5 years. Which one do you think is correct? Just drop it down in the chat section. I have known him for 5 years. I've known him since 5 years. Since or for, which one is correct? Number 1, sentence 1 or sentence 2? For or since? Now why for? If at all you're saying for, then why for and not since? I know him since 6th standard, or I know him since 6th standard, or I know him for 6th standard. Which one is correct? Right. So what is the difference? Like, what is the key difference between the two? Yes, to some extent, time period. So for time period, what do you use? For or since? Now, let's see. So for duration, for time period, or for period of time, you're supposed to use for. And for time impressions, like days, weeks, years, minutes, I've been waiting here for 5 minutes. So again, it's a duration. I've been calling you for weeks. That means for a very long period of time, I've been calling you. So for time period, for duration, and for time expressions, you're supposed to use for. For example, she has lived here for 2 years. Now what is 2 years? It is a time period of 2 years. Similarly, I've been waiting here for 3 hours. What is 3 hours? Is it an exact date? No. It is a time period. So you will be using for along with it. Similarly, 6 months. Third example, 6 months. What is it? Time period of 6 months. So it is not any exact date, but a time period. So you're supposed to use for here. Since actually talks about two things. First is starting point in time. So if you have a starting point of any event or whatever the topic is all about, if you have its starting point, then you use since. For example, I know him since 2020. So you know the exact starting point. You're not using here time period or duration of any sort, but it is time period, starting point of that event. starting point in time. So when you have this point in time, you use since. When you're using duration or time period, when you have the time period but not the exact date or not exact point in time, then in that case you're supposed to use since. Right? So I've been here 2 years is acceptable, but again the correct way is I've been here for 2 years. So for duration, remember, I hope this is clear. For time expression to indicate durations, and since to indicate starting point in time. Is it clear? Since, Dinesh, when you have a starting point in time, now it could be anything. I've known him for childhood or I've known him since childhood. What is correct? I've known him for childhood. I've known him since childhood. Which one is correct? Since childhood or for childhood? In the chat section, since childhood or for childhood? Since childhood. Why? It's not time. It's not any day, not any specific day. It's not any specific time. It's not any specific date, but still we are using since. Why? Because this is a specific event of life, which is childhood. So that is why you're supposed to use since here. So since is correct. So not just time, day or date, but also event, any specific event of past. Now, lie, lay. What do you understand by lie and what do you understand by lay? So this is very perplexing, very baffling at times. What is the meaning of perplexing, by the way? When I said that this is perplexing, what do I mean by that? This is baffling. What do I mean by that? If I'm saying that this is perplexing, what is the meaning of it? In the chat section, quickly. Confusing, absolutely correct. Perplexing, baffling, all are synonymous to confusing. So these two words could be confusing. And lie, the first one, lie means to rest and lay means to put something to rest. Let's see how. So basically, lie means to rest or recline. So no object is required. Lie, lay, lane. So these are the principal parts which are not requisite here. But remember that lie means to put down something. Lie means to rest. For example, I'm going to lie down for an hour. Or he lies in bed every morning. So you're specifically talking about yourself, or the individual person is talking about that individual personality, I mean himself or herself, and you're talking about resting here in this case. But when you're using lay, you're actually placing something or putting something down. For example, please lay the exam papers on the desk. That means you're being asked to put down something. Similarly, she lays the book on the table. So this is the specific difference between lie and lay. But at the same time, lie also means to tell an untruth. That means to tell a lie. Lay also means to produce eggs. And lay the table is an idiom, which means to prepare the table. So please lay the table. We are expecting guests. So lay the table simply means to prepare the table. Lie also means to tell the untruth. And lay also means to produce eggs. But specifically, the difference between lie and lay is lie means to put to rest, and lay means to put down something or put something, to be specific. So if at all you get confused in the future, just remember lie means to rest and lay means to put. That's how you remember it for a longer period of time. I'm going to lay down absolutely incorrect. This is something that you must remember. You're not laying down, but you are lying down. So I'm going to lie down. That means I'm going to rest for a while. Please lie the papers. No. Please put the papers. Please lay the papers. I hope this is clear. Now, the next one. Just like lie and lay, we have rise and raise. Based on the same concept, rise means to go up, stand up, and get out of the bed. So it could have multiple meanings. Principal parts: rise, rose, and risen. Now, wall rises very early in the morning. So you're talking about rise, which means to wake up here. So wall rises very early in the morning. The sun rises in the east. Now here rises means to go up. But raise means to lift up something. Just like lay. Lay, the meaning of lay is to put or to put down something. Similarly, raise means to lift up or increase as well. So they have multiple meanings. Raise means to lift up or increase, and at the same time we have rise, which means to go up, to stand up, or to get out of the bed. So this is the difference between rise and raise. Raise, two meanings: to lift up and to increase. Now, how do you use it in a sentence? So, she raised their salaries too often. That means she mostly increased their salary. Please raise your hand. That means please move your hand up or lift your hand upwards. Now, what is the meaning of arise? It means to begin or originate. So it is generally used in a formal context, in a formal setting. Excuse me. So a quarrel may arise, which means it might begin. There are chances that it can start, it can begin, it can originate. Don't raise your voice. Absolutely correct, Dinesh. Now, the mistake that we usually make is instead of rise, we use raise. I have seen people using this, so that's why I've kept it down on the slide. Make sure that you're not replacing the two with each other, but rise simply means, what is the meaning of rise? Here, to wake up. Raise means to lift up or to increase. Don't raise your voice. That means don't increase the volume of your voice. She rose their salaries. No, she raised their salary. That means she gave a hike. She increased the salaries. Is it clear? Drop Y's if yes. Drop Y's in the chat section if it is clear. Drop Y in the chat section if you are clear with the difference between rise and raise. Bring up as in move upwards, lift upwards. Radhesh. Pallavi, just remember one definition, one simple definition. Rise simply means just jot it down somewhere if you can. If you have a notebook handy, just jot it down. Rise means to go up, stand up, or get out of the bed. Okay, this is the actual definition. To go up, right? To stand up or to get out of the bed. But raise simply means to lift up or to increase. So that's how you'll remember it for a longer period of time. And again, lie, lay. Similarly, lie, lay. So lie means to rest, and you can use it mostly for yourself. And lay means to put something down or to put something. Just drop Y's if it is clear. How many of you gave the test? How many of you took the test yesterday? Sorry, extremely sorry, my bad. How many of you took the test yesterday? Oh, I dropped the link today. So, did you all take it? Yeah, tell me, did you all take the test? Yeah, what was the score? How much did you score? So, I think there were 15 questions. What was the score? No, not yet. I would want you all to give the test before tomorrow's session. So, again, tomorrow also we'll be having the session at 9. So, it would be better if you keep keep taking the test. If you haven't, just please take the test before the next session so that we can have another session on vocabulary tomorrow. So let's revise few words. Tell me, what is the meaning of belligerent? What is the meaning of belligerent? What is the meaning of belligerent? Who is belligerent? Dinesh, you are supposed to take the test and you can take it from the link that I've provided in the community, Instagram community, broadcast channel. Sorry. Yeah. So, what is the meaning of belligerent? Belligerent means someone who's very warlike, someone who's very aggressive, just like Virat Kohli. I think we learned this. We learn this method of linking these words to real personalities or relevant creatures, and as belligerent as Virat Kohli, which means he is aggressive. So that's why we link this term with him. So, belligerent means aggressive. Aggressive. Right. What is the meaning of garrulous? Garrulous. Meaning of garrulous, everyone in the chat section. What do you understand from garrulous? That's great, Priya. Kudos to you. You're doing wonderful. What is the meaning of garrulous? Talkative, excessively talkative, especially on trivial matters. So I think Beena was the first one to reply. I'll call out the name who will reply first. Okay. Meaning of the word hapless. Hapless. What is the meaning of the word hapless? Great, Priya. Kudos to you. Congratulations. Hapless. I'm talking about the word hapless. What is the meaning of the word hapless? Again, I think Beena ruled. She's the first one to reply, and the answer is helpless is the word that we use to link it with the word hapless, but actually, the real meaning of the word hapless is unfortunate, unlucky. Right? Okay. Okay. Munificent. Munificent. He is a munificent monk. What do you mean by that? Munificent. I'll give you options. So you tell me, is it A or B? So, munificent, option A, someone who shows or gives attention to detail, option A. Option B is someone who's very generous. He's a giver. So is it option A or option B? Option A is showing attention to details or paying attention to details. And option B is generous with donations. Very helping, giver. A or B? It's B. Munificent means someone who is very kind, very generous, very charitable. He believes in charity, is munificent. And meticulous, again, it starts with M, and meticulous means someone who pays great attention to details. I hope this is clear now. Okay? Yeah, so I started the answer. I can see the answers, but I haven't received the correct answer yet. Generous, right. Alright, so that's all for today's session. It's already 10:04 by the way. So, we'll be connecting tomorrow for day 2 of vocabulary enhancement. Again, you'll be learning around 10 words tomorrow. And if you felt that this session was helpful, don't forget to hit the like button. I can see only 7 likes, and I believe 17 people were there attending the session today. So make sure that you hit the like button so that it can motivate me to bring more live sessions. But anyway, we are going to continue for the next 30 days. So don't forget to join every day at 9. Alright, I hope this is clear. All good? If you have any doubt, just drop it down in the chat section, or you can DM me personally on Instagram. Or you have my mail ID as well. So if at all you have any doubt, anything that you want to share or convey, you can just drop a mail. Alright? Okay. So thank you so much for joining in today and staying with me till the very end. Let's connect again tomorrow at 9. And we'll be learning some new words tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining in. Bye everyone. Take care.